Welcome to GearCheckGames. This is part 11 of our commentary for Metroid Prime. Last time, we used the gravity suit to finally explore the sunken remains of the frigate Orpheon, and used it to make our way to the final main area of the game, the Phazon Mines, the main base of the space pirates here on Talon 4.
You know, that's kind of an odd thing, that, like...
Exciting stuff.
They piloted their fucking frigate as it was falling, part of my French, as,
You mean their frigging frigate.
Yeah.
Yeah. You freaking frigate!
Basically on top
when
of
will
their
you learn?
On top of their, like, secret base. So it's just like, wow, way to go, Jim. You revealed where our secret base was by landing a ship on top of it.
Well, no, they didn't land the ship on top of it. They coincidentally landed their ship next to an elevator that somehow, via some wizardry, leads to the Phazon Mines.
No, fair enough.
They crashed their ship and they're like, oh man, we gotta get our guys to the base. Let's just like build an elevator directly between the base and the crashed ship, just for convenience.
God, I'm surprised there was anyone even left to get out of that ship when it crashed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw how many pirates just got, like, ejected out into space when the thing blew.
I don't think... Do they have to breathe? I'm assuming
well, no, I don't
they have to
mean
breathe.
those ones survived. I just mean, like, how many pirates were still inside the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or how many got...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them might have been just in hiding, and the ones that were out in the open were the ones that were too, like, wounded to make it there. I don't know.
They can you can probably survive a ship that's falling from, like, low orbit, especially, like, if, you know, the planet isn't, like, doesn't have a huge gravitational well, but, like...
Did I just get Mufasa'd by that pirate?
I think you did.
But, certainly gonna be some broken bones.
You're making good use of the ice beam, like, you're really showing its strengths off.
Yeah. Well, forgive me if I'm wrong here. I don't think they nerfed it at all or changed it when it comes to most enemies, but I know that there's at least one type of enemy that we're going to encounter in this episode that used to be, like, absurdly and kind of bizarrely easy because of the ice beam, but that they fixed in the Prime Trilogy to make it harder, but, you know, I suppose there's no sense talking about that while it's not on screen.
No, we'll get there.
But that's never stopped us before.
Yeah.
We would never spoil the ending of a game before it happens.
No, not in a million years.
Yeah, because we're explaining the lore as it comes up, you know, adequately and promptly, and not forgetting to talk about things for multiple episodes.
Yeah.
Or glossing over them, you know.
It helps me sleep at night, okay?
We'll never spoil that Ridley turns into a boat at the end of this game.
That's right. It's almost like Darn and Franks, he becomes a spaceship.
Bit of an odd direction for this series, but I have to respect them for following through with their artistic vision.
Steamboat Ridley.
Yes.
As a Darling and the Franks fan, Joe, no, I don't have to respect someone for following through on their artistic vision.
Fair enough.
I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
Have we trashed other M yet in this series? Let's not.
I'm just imagining the Metroid characters in Fleischer animation style.
Oh man, that'd be crazy.
Samus with rubber hose limbs.
By the way, I totally meant to wait until now to scan my first magnetic spider-ball rail, so...
Yeah,
Totally.
Totally.
You totally
going
didn't
for
just
style
accidentally
here.
scan it because you thought it was a terminal.
See, it's,
Shut up!
100% no out-of-bounds speed strats. If you save it till now, you save 3 frames.
Yes, all future speedrunners, be sure that that's part of the run. You gotta be sure to do that, or else it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Scan that spider-ball track.
Hey, that's one of the few things that you can wait to scan till the very last room of the game.
Yeah, because there's
Well,
one
yeah, because
there.
they don't inexplicably go away.
Yeah.
Like some of these enemies do.
God, I think these ceiling turrets, I remember them being one of my least favorite enemies, just because they take so long to kill and it's so boring
Well, yeah,
fighting
because
them.
it's a new version of them now that you have stronger weapons, because the other ones you can kill super easy. They're just like, oh, we can't let you just, like, be killing these, like, very quickly.
Yeah, they're just a spongier, like, regular turret. They don't even look that different from a distance.
Oh,
Honestly, I think I would like it better if they raised the difficulty by just filling the room with more of them. Because then, at least I could feel good about killing them and making progress.
yeah, rather than them just bullet sponging.
Yeah, which is especially just bad in a game like this, where there's no, like, you can't see how much damage or how close you are to killing an enemy.
Yeah, no health bars at all, or any indication.
So the solution to the bullet sponge enemy is to create more of them. Okay.
More of them that are weaker.
Oh, I see. Oh, more regular turrets instead
Yeah,
of...
more regular
Okay.
turrets instead of stronger
That makes
turrets.
sense. Yeah.
Or more
that makes
durable
sense.
turrets.
Hey, one less thing to scan.
Yeah.
Who are these fashionable boys?
Oh
Yeah.
boy, this is one of the best parts of Metroid Prime. The enemies that just play Simon with your beam variants.
Now, match the color!
Yeah, these are the wave
Engaging.
troopers. Yeah.
They're called the wave troopers because they have giant long hands that are perfect for waving.
They're shaped like
Hi,
friends.
Samus.
And, the thing is, like, these pirates are supposed to be, like, using, like, the wave beam technology or something similar to it.
Yeah,
But they-
reverse engineered like beams that Samus uses.
But the thing is,
But in
like,
what
all their
way? They don't
beams...
shoot anything. They're
Well,
just
no, they
purple.
do.
You have to take the game's word for it, Dan.
Well, they do shoot. It's just the same exact projectiles as that every other pirate can shoot.
Oh, wow.
So, like, it doesn't change their wave at all.
Also, in case it isn't clear, we all like this game. I know we're kind of like having a moan about it, but like we all love this game. Just for the record,
Yeah.
it's just kind of one of the, there are certain elements of Metroid Prime 1. Even though I would say like of the three games, this is in a lot of ways like the most like balanced of the three. There were some growing pains with like the design here, and I think one of them is like the enemies just being like only killable with a certain kind of weapon. It's just kind of an arbitrary way to design it. Whereas in like Prime 2, you have a similar situation where you've got enemies in the light world that are weak to your dark beam and enemies in the dark world that are weak to your light beam. But the difference there is that you can still fight enemies with any beam. It's just that if you happen to have ammo for the one that they're weak to, you can take them down a little quicker.
Yeah, you get some extra damage.
Yeah,
So
it's
this-
more of a strategic choice rather than just like a quote-unquote puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
feel
it-
like
Or
it's a
if you're
design
Dan, they
choice.
just take forever to kill because you don't want to use
only
your
use the
limited
charge.
ammo.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it when we get to the boss of this area, but like, in addition to them being like, color-coded, if you guys the astute viewer will notice that like, oh, well, the colors don't show up on anything other than the normal visor. That's true, which means bosses that require certain visors, if they spawn these enemies while you're in that visor,
Oh my
you just
God.
kind of have to guess.
You cracked the code, Trent.
Yeah,
They
and
were playing the long game. Like the enemies for 99% of their appearances, they're stupid and they don't make any sense. But then when you get to the boss fight where it spawns them in as like backup, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow. So I can only effectively damage these guys when I'm using the visor that doesn't show me the boss.
Yep.
They were
So,
made
like-
for that boss fight, but some of them just escaped the boss room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's kind of where the biggest bemoanment actually comes from for the colored pirates. Like, other than the tedium of having to just, like, change beams to get the one that they're not immune to, like, it's just that really annoying bit where it's just like, do I continue to damage the boss, or do I go out so I can effectively deal with the trash?
Right. If you think those guys are annoying, wait till we get to the Metroids that work like that.
Oh god.
Because it doesn't end with the pirate troopers.
If you think those guys are nuisance, just wait till you see the Metroids.
I feel like the intention there was to give the beams more to do.
Well, yeah.
And it
I
ended
feel-
up being like a weird gatekeeping measure.
Although
Yeah,
I
that's true.
It kind of feels like, because this game has other enemies that do the same thing, but in a much more, like, clever way that makes sense.
Metroid other enemies.
Like, I mean, like the Sheogoths being weaker to the plasma beam because they're ice enemies, or the Metroids being weak to the ice beam because they're Metroids. It almost feels like the elite color-coded troopers were like a beta enemy that they made for like when they had the idea to make different beam types to just be like placeholder, like, hey, we can have different enemies that react differently to the different beams.
Right.
I do have something to say about that before we leave that previous room too quickly. One thing, my strategy for that room was to always just let go of the morph ball track and grab right back onto it right before the ring, and just fall very quickly rather than rolling slowly. But so onto the topic of beams. So one thing that Trey said there was just like, to give the beams something more to do, and something I never quite considered. It's like, a lot of the beams, especially wave beam probably being the worst one, and plasma beam as well, lost a lot of their unique qualities from the 2D games. Because in the 2D games, wave beam can go through walls, and plasma beam can pierce multiple enemies. It's not really something that you can make use of in the 3D environment. So the wave beam is just kind of like a different power beam.
Yeah, due to the camera, it wouldn't have really worked. Like, in Other M, they tried to bring the wave beam back, but, like, the only thing they were really able to do with it... I mean, I guess you can shoot through walls that conceal, like, a power conduit, visible only with a thermal visor, but, in Other M, basically all it amounts to is, like, oh, now you can shoot through, like, these glass walls. It just... I don't know, it doesn't add what it added from the, from, like, Super Metroid... for instance.
Because, like, in Super Metroid, getting the wave beam, like, it revolutionizes the game, because you can just start, like, killing enemies from weird angles, rather than having to, like, actually risk yourself and damage.
Yeah.
So. I know we kind of talked over this room, but I really like the puzzle in here.
Yeah, it's another great, like, showcase of just the spider ball.
Well, that, and just, like, this creative, like, thinking and design that they have, which, allowed puzzles in 3D to really make sense. Like, the fact that they show you that little, like, hologram of the pillar is just really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always remember having a lot of trouble with that. Or, that puzzle always took me a long time as a kid, but I guess I also didn't realize... Because I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go, and therefore what I needed to line up to get there. And I guess I didn't realize that the game literally, like, perfectly frames where you need to go and what you need to line up with the camera when you go into the, like, slot that turns things.
Yeah. And it's just, like, that's a lot of, like, stuff... Like, puzzle...
I'm sad that we didn't comment on that guy just getting blasted out of the ceiling.
Yeah, whenever
he was probably waiting there for hours, like, when she comes through this hallway.
He felt so smart.
Yeah.
I'm finally gonna get my promotion.
But yeah, like, because one thing we've harped on a lot is, like, transferring of, like, 2D Metroid, like, themings and pillars and, like, design philosophies into 3D. And, like... That puzzle, like, definitely shows, like, a lot of the puzzle design and, like, creative camera stuff that, like, Metroid is kind of really good for into 3D. And additionally, another thing that we kind of missed is that elevator sequence there, where they were kind of showing this, like, glass elevator, and you're descending under the impact crater, which is, been established as something really important. It's just, like, this is, like, theming that, like... this creative use of the 3D environment and Metroid Switch there is just, it's hats off to them, because, like, they really, really sell the Metroid feel, despite it being 3D.
Yeah, it's just kind of a cool moment. I don't know, ever since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed, like, glass elevators where you can kind of look out over a space as you move, like, vertically through it. It's just cool. But one thing is, I don't know... Like, geographically, I never really bought that the Phazon Mines were, like, that close to the impacts. Well, no, okay, that doesn't make any sense, because we just came here from the Talon Overworld.
Yeah, it's more that the impact
logically,
crater
it makes perfect sense. It's just that, like, spatially, to me, I never put that together.
Also, since I assume the Phazon is coming from the impact site.
Yeah,
Phazon from the Phazon Mines? No.
Well, the Phazon from the Phazon meteorite? Oh, no. I think it's a bit more of an indication of, like, how, like, widespread the Phazon was able to get just from that single impact. Because, like, the impact crater is actually, like, despite how small it looked from where we were initially on top of it, it's really big. Like, that took out a significant chunk of the Talon surface.
Yeah, as craters are one to be. In fact, the Yucatan crater from like the KT extinction of the dinosaurs, isn't that like several miles across?
Oh yeah, just massive.
And also introduced Phazon to this planet.
That's right.
Yes.
So additionally,
dinosaurs were killed by Phazon. You heard it here first, folks.
See, that's the real news that I want to hear.
Did that dude just run into a wall and like clip through it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
you know, animation and navigation sometimes don't exactly line up in this game.
You saved that man's life for like a brief second. You pulled him back into reality before shattering him from it.
Oh boy.
You could not be allowed to survive. Speaking of shattering, that's the enemy I was talking about where... so obviously there's a variant of the beam-themed troopers to correspond to every beam that you have. But in the original release of Prime, the ice troopers were by far the easiest, because you could freeze them with one charge shot from the ice beam and blow them up with one missile.
Rather than having to have them bullet sponge a bunch.
Yeah, but to bring it up to balance, I guess, for the trilogy version, they made it so that you have to shoot them with multiple charge shots or multiple missiles, and I don't know, it just kind of slows things down. Like when the enemy design is that simple, I don't really feel like they need to take that long.
Yeah, they don't need to be able to like tank several shots. Just kind of like the turrets we mentioned earlier. It's just like, why is this taking so much longer?
I highly doubt. I don't know exactly what the intention of that room was, but I love the way it plays out, where it's like, ha, we finally got Samus now, trapped in this room, and we're filling it with poison gas and poison puffers.
Release the neurotoxin.
Yeah. Hey, Frank, you remembered to lock the door, right? Huh? Oh, shit.
Well, you see, Dan, the bit of genius that you've forgotten is that that's our only escape route at this point.
Yeah.
So until we get rid of the gas in that room, like,
that room does come back into play. So before we get too far away from it, I actually kind of realized some irony whenever we were talking about the elevator. So, like, Metroid has a lot of elevators in it, in both 2D and 3D games.
Yeah.
I was actually, like, kind of deathly afraid of elevators as a kid, so it's kind of ironic that I love the Metroid games so much. Because I think it stems from the fact is when I got allergy shots as a kid, we always took the elevator up to that floor, and I had a Game Boy at the time, and like, I think I was always afraid of like dropping my Game Boy down in there, or like the elevator like snapping and like falling down, and so I was always just like,
I was gonna say, yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that the elevator could snap and we all just plummet to our deaths, but I really didn't want to lose my Game Boy down the crack.
Yeah, well, like it was a combination of both, because like I think, because it was like I always had the Game Boy, and the Game Boy was like my precious thing as a kid, and so I didn't want to like lose it down the elevator crack, like because it would have like fallen all the way down there and broken.
Although I guess I don't really have any place to make fun of irrational fears, because I'm pretty sure at some point in my childhood I was afraid that on an escalator I would get pulled under like a cartoon character if I didn't step off at the end.
That was also another fear of mine.
Was part of your pathological fear, Dan, that you would also be fine after having that happen to you, like a cartoon character?
Yeah, I just come out the other side, but flat.
So one thing I want to point out is this boss looks infinitely more tolerable on Wii U controls.
He's so hard on the GameCube version.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember having to try, like, 3 or 4 times when I first fought that guy, because, like,
Is this gimmick that you can't target him or lap onto him?
Yeah, at this point, because, like, I don't know if the viewers have noticed here, but if you've played this game, you'll know that the last save point that we had access to before defeating that boss was at the beginning of the mines, basically.
Yup.
And this is, easily the hardest stretch of game we've had to cross at this point, with the hardest and most aggressive enemies. So, I'm willing to bet that, like me, many people, experience a lot of frustration trying to get through this part of the game because,
Yeah.
skills maybe weren't as honed as they are now and, lost a lot of health and maybe died to that boss because at the end of this long gauntlet, they're like, hey, now's a good time to introduce an enemy that you can't target and that turns invisible. And just in that moment, you might panic and, like, you know, not be able to keep it together and have to redo the entire Phazon Mines.
Yeah, well, that and the GameCube controls were really not good for targeting that guy. Like, really not good.
Well, yeah, you basically just have to, like, plant yourself to the spot and aim at him with the R button.
Yeah.
You suddenly unlocked a memory that I must have repressed of getting through that boss and being left at, like, really, really low health, and then having to do that electrical maze and just being like...
Yeah.
All of those problems are compounded on hard mode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you just have so much less room
bombs.
for, like, margin of error.
Yeah, savor them while they last, because those are going to be the only power bombs we see for a while here.
Oh, man. But,
Finally saved.
And they have a save point immediately after.
Yeah, we're not going to use it.
that's right. Alrighty, well, it's been good.
Yes, it
Don't
has...
fall down any elevators,
Wait, no,
guys.
it hasn't. This has been awful. But hopefully things will look up in the next part, because now that we have power bombs, we can finally blow up all the rubble we've been running to all over the place.
This episode was the bomb.
Haha.
Well, we ain't topping this. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time.